Now 8:54, I've spent several hours setting up the scope in the position in my backyard where I get the maximum view of the sky. We just saw a satellite passage. And the biggest problem I had was getting everything to center up during the 3-star alignment after I had done the alignment itself. Lots of things moving through the field of view there. The focus is pretty good right now. It's the 12th of September, 2025. As I said, it's about 8:55 p.m. On a Friday night, we're having a 6-inch view of NGC, a couple of 6-inch viewable galaxies, NGC 2300 and NGC 28. So you can see 2300 here, I do believe. It's coming up. That's the elliptical, and over around here we should just see some vague nebulosity associated with the spiral, face-on spiral. That's a view, 6-inch settings, 0.2 seconds exposure time. I'm going to step through and then we're going to launch into the views for the evening. What we have here is our 1-second exposure, which should approximate to a 12 to 14-inch scope of the two galaxies. Much more obvious now. The very brightly condensed elliptical galaxy NGC 2300 and its neighbor face-on spiral. I believe it is 2278, but I will confirm that. The focus looks pretty good on the stars now. It's been drifting throughout the evening as the scope cools. The temperatures have dropped. So let's move along. Here we have a quick view at 5 seconds exposure time. Not too many stacks here, but things are brightening up considerably. We're seeing a considerable aura around NGC 2300. Let's go to 10. And a single stack at 10 seconds exposure time, showing the two neighboring galaxies, at least in terms of our reference frame. Stars are still looking pretty tight. I did do a rather good balancing out of both axes of the scope in setting up. Let's move on to a 30-second exposure time. And if the stars look good, we will probably go back to 10, but I just want to verify a good balance in terms of the mount. Developing the image right now. It's going to take 30 seconds to get the first stack. I do believe this stack right now is the previous 10-second version, because I have not navigated to another study. We got 10 more seconds until we get to the view of the first stack of a 30-second exposure time of the two galaxies we've already been viewing. All right, they have brightened up considerably, getting a little bit of elongation on the stars. So clearly we are not tracking extremely well for 30-second exposure times. And that's where I want to be as our baseline for the evening. Okay, we have a view here of NGC 3172. It's right there on the screen. It's a 14.1 visual magnitude galaxy. Not the best view I've gotten so far. Let's push it up to 100x. Fairly bright. I could play with the histogram settings a little bit. There we go. We darkened it up nicely there. Let's see if I push it a little bit here. All right, so let's say that's probably one of the better views right now with those settings. You see the bright core, 150x, you see some extension. I do believe it's an elliptical galaxy. That is our 150x view. I'll back it out and we get a nice dark sky, but we are getting some luminosity entering into the optical tube assembly from some source, probably off the roof of the house, which I'm having a peer over. Here we have another galaxy, NGC 1530. It's barely above the roof line of the house. We could be getting some reflected R. We could get some aperture block, but that's a very nice, aesthetically attractive view. This is another galaxy that should be visible through barely visible through a 6-inch scope. Probably take an 8-inch. It has an average brightness of magnitude 12.8. We're seeing the core region with some spiraling arms around it. And another galaxy, quite nice actually for your perusal. This is NGC 2146. It's a little brighter than the last. It has an average brightness of 12.2. It's very nicely presented. Let's run it up to 150x. And there is our view. It looks a little scalloped to me. There's dark areas here near the core. So we are seeing some serious texture. After all, it is a magnitude, I believe, 10.6 magnitude galaxy with 13.7 average surface brightness. Decent view. The evening sky looks quite dark, but my eyes are being flooded by the screen before me. NGC 2314. By the way, all these galaxies came out of the Wiltirian guide, so they're all very brightish. Typically, none will have an average brightness greater than much more than 13.1, maybe 13.5. I haven't exhausted them. This one is NGC 2314. It is magnitude 12.2 with an average surface brightness of 13.2, 1.7 by 1.4 arc minutes, and a 12.7 averaged brightness, which puts it in the 8-inch scope range for barely being detectable. That would just be this brightish core region looking rather hazy in the eyepiece at roughly about 125 to 150x. Here we should be seeing NGC 2732. You can see it sharply edge on at this low 30x viewing magnification. We go up to double it. We go up to 50. We're about 75 magnification. We push it up to 100%. We see the galaxy quite well. Nice slightly tilted edge on with a neighbor right down over here. NGC 2732 itself, if I look at my data here, is 11.9 magnitude, 12.4 average surface brightness, 2.1 by 0.8 arc minutes, with a 12.1 average brightness, should just be visible through a 6-inch scope. And we could test it by going to 0.2 seconds exposure time. And I think I might do that because I've had to skip over a number of galaxies now due to the fact that they were below the roofline of the house from where I am currently imaging. Okay, backing down the exposure times, this is 0.5 seconds. I'm sorry, that last view was 5 seconds. And this one we're seeing here is 2 seconds. Not a particularly great view, but we still are seeing its neighbor right there. Let's push it up to 150x. There's our view. Once again, at 2 seconds. Playing with the histogram now. I've had to do it all along since backing out. This is a 0.5 second exposure, and I'm not really making out the galaxy. Let's do some zoomage. Oh yeah, we're starting to pick it up at higher magnifications. We get up to 100% e-zoom. We are seeing the galaxy quite well. Its neighbor is possibly suggested here, but this is the galaxy we are referring to, NGC 2732, 0.5 second exposure time. Let's see if we can get any hints of it at 0.2, which is the 6-inch equivalent eyepiece exposure time, as a rough guess. Just as I suspected, it is still barely visible, the core region with some hints of an extension. Once again, this is NGC 2732 on the very edge of perception through at 0.2 seconds exposure, which I consider to be the equivalent of a 6-inch scope. There it is. It's a magnitude 11.9 galaxy with a 12.4 average surface brightness. 2.1 by 0.8 arc seconds really helps in picking it out at a low aperture or higher magnification. It has an averaged brightness between the ASB and the cumulative brightness of 12.1. I think this is proving out to be quite workable. 0.2 seconds is roughly the equivalent of a 6-inch scope at the eyepiece. Another nice edge-on type galaxy, maybe slightly oblate. This is NGC 2715. Data on it. My notes here is galaxy 11.2 magnitude, cumulative 13.4, average surface brightness, quite large at 4.9 by 1.7 arc minutes with an averaged brightness of 12.3, just outside the range of a 6-inch scope, but an 8-inch should reveal its core. Let's go ahead and see if we can make out more of that extensive size. Look at the X-ing we're seeing here with satellite passages. All right, so here is our 150X. We're seeing the galaxy, the core region with extensions. Very nice. There seems to be some luminosity continuing out in this direction, and that kind of looks rather boomerangish to me. There may be some other faint galaxies in the view. That's our look at NGC 2715. We're about 11 minutes into this recording. I'll be knocking off at 15 in another 4 or 5. Here we have another slice in the night of an edge-on galaxy. NGC 2748. Very tight presentation. I'll give you a little bit of data, but while I have a look at it, 100 E-zoom, 150X, 2748 has magnitude 11.7, 12.9, average surface brightness 3 by 1.1 arc minutes in size, 12.3 averaged brightness. All right, now we're going to deal with some unknowns. I'm trying to pick out some studies that we'll be able to also pick out using the 150 ED. This is NGC 7217. It's a very bright, it looks like it's probably a lenticular class galaxy. This is our view at 10 seconds exposure time. Let's pick out a few more from the Sky Guide and capture them before we run out of time for the evening. We're at 12 minutes and 40 seconds. All right, here is our 30X view of NGC 7331, a rather spectacular galaxy, and surprises me that it was not seen by Charles Messier or his friend Machine. Wow, what a beautiful tilted galaxy with a neighbor right beyond it. Let's push it up to 150X, 100% E-zoom. We're getting quite a bit of saucer-like extension. It's a suboblate galaxy with a bright core. There's some, looks like there could be some inline stars, of course. I do believe that it recently, this is the one that recently had a supernova explosion in it, but I'd have to confirm that. The galaxy is sprawling quite nicely across the field. There are several others visible. Not a bad view at 150X, kind of lacks some of the aesthetics. Let's drop it down to 70% E-zoom. We're seeing a nice dark bar, smiley bar here. This could very well be the remnant of the supernova that it went off, if indeed it was 7331. My memory could be off on that one. This is a very fine view. We'll pick out a few more. We have about a minute left. A quick view of Messier 147, a satellite galaxy of Messier 31, and we'll go to its neighbor. I believe it is 185. We're seeing a very diffuse galaxy field at 10 seconds exposure. And here we have another satellite galaxy, NGC 185, brighter and more extensive, but let's go back to Messier 31 itself for that one final view of those bands before we knocked them out. Oh, I do want to show you how well the stacking works with Messier 185 before we view it. This is multiple stacks. Before we were only getting a single one. Okay, this is our final view for the evening. I've allowed several stacks of 10 seconds each to accumulate. We're seeing Messier 31, 32, and 110. At some 30X, with Messier 31 pretty much spilling across the field of view, and NGC 206 visible right here, forming its nice triangular relationship with the core of 31 and 32. You can see the dark near side dark lanes. We're seeing some other dark lanes off here in the distance, much subtler. It's a very fine view to go out on. I'll expand it out just a little bit as I am about to say. Wow, there's additional dark bands in here with magnification. Carpe noctem.